All right, we're going to dive into the invisible systems that pretty much run our world. And you know the secret to keeping them safe? It's surprisingly simple. This is all about how cybersecurity for our most critical infrastructure doesn't start with some high-tech firewall. Nope, it starts with a simple list.
Think about it. Every time you flip a light switch, turn on the tap, fill up your car, you're tapping into this huge hidden network. It's called operational technology, or OT for short, and it's basically the digital backbone that controls the physical world. We're talking power grids, water treatment plants, you name it. It's the tech that literally makes our modern lives possible.
And because these systems are so essential, well, they're a huge target. Malicious actors are actively trying to disrupt them, to destroy them even. And the consequences? They're not just digital. We're talking about real-world chaos, financial ruin, and yeah, even threats to human health and safety.
So yeah, the stakes really could not be higher. When these systems get hit, it's not just some IT problem in an office somewhere. It's a critical infrastructure problem that affects every single one of us. So let's just be super clear on what we're talking about here. Operational technology, OT, it's not about your spreadsheets or your email. This is the tech that has its hands on the real world. You know, the controllers that actually open a valve, the sensors that monitor pressure, the systems that manage the flow of electricity. It's the bridge between the digital world and the physical one. So how do the bad guys get in? Well, a lot of the time it's through some pretty basic weaknesses. See, these systems were built for reliability, for just working, not necessarily for security. So attackers take advantage of old software, weak passwords, and insecure protocols. Honestly, if the door isn't locked properly, they can pretty much just walk right in.
And listen, this isn't a problem for just one country or one industry. Our world is so interconnected now that a threat to one of us is a threat to all of us. And that's exactly why the world's top security agencies all came together to issue a single, unified piece of guidance on how to start fixing this.
Here in the United States, the effort's being led by CISA. That's the agency that protects the nation's critical infrastructure, and of course, the FBI.
But they're not going it alone. Key allies like Australia's Cybersecurity Centre and the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity are right there with them as co-authors.
And the collaboration goes even further. We've got agencies from Germany, New Zealand, the Netherlands, all of them contributing. What this means is that this guidance represents a powerful international consensus on the single most important first step you can take.
So you've got all this global expertise, all these brilliant minds focused on the problem. So what is that crucial first step? Well, it's something so fundamental, it's almost kind of shocking.
And there it is. This is the core message of the entire guide. It's so simple, right? You can't protect what you don't know you have. Before you can build a fortress, you have to know what you're actually defending. Security doesn't start with some fancy algorithm. It starts with plain old awareness.
The official term for this is an asset inventory. And the best way to think about it is like a map of a city. Before you can decide where to post your guards, you need a detailed map of every street, every building, every single alleyway. So for an electrical utility or a water plant, that means having a list of every single device on their network.
Okay, but just having a giant list, that's not really enough, is it? A 1,000-page list of devices is just a pile of data. To turn it into a powerful defensive tool, you've got to organize it.
And that's where something called a taxonomy comes in. Look, if the asset inventory is a list of all the books in a library, the taxonomy is like the Dewey Decimal System. It's the logic that organizes everything, grouping stuff by how critical it is and what it does. That way, you know exactly what matters most and where to focus.
And getting organized like this pays off in huge ways. It doesn't just make management easier, it actually creates a common language for all your different teams. It leads to smarter decisions about where to spend your money and your time, and it gives you the critical data you need to spot trends and hopefully stay ahead of the threats. Because without that taxonomy, an OT environment can look just like this. A chaotic mess of interconnected devices. It's impossible to see the patterns or the dependencies or the critical points of failure. You're basically defending blind. And this slide, it just shows the transformation perfectly. A taxonomy brings order out of that chaos. It groups similar assets into these secure zones, and then it maps out the communication pathways between them, which they call conduits. This lets you control traffic and really lock things down, turning that chaos into a managed, defensible system.
So how does this all come together in the real world? Once you have this organized map, this clear picture, you can finally start building your fortress.
And the guide lays out this really clear 5-step process that makes it feel totally manageable. You start by defining your goals. Then you identify and catalog everything. You create that all-important taxonomy we talked about. You manage the data, and finally, you manage the entire life cycle of each device, from the day it's installed to the day it's retired.
And this is the payoff. This is why you do all that work. With an organized inventory, you can actually take meaningful action. You can find and patch vulnerable systems, check them against lists of known exploits, and focus your precious resources on protecting your most critical assets. It really is the foundation for all effective security.
You know, this quote from the guide really just says it all. You can have the most advanced, most expensive security tools in the world, but without a complete and organized asset inventory, you're just guessing. The foundation of modern cyber defense is simply knowing your stuff.
So as we wrap this up, the key takeaway is this. Protecting our physical world from digital threats doesn't start with some complicated piece of technology. It starts with the meticulous, disciplined work of making a list and organizing it. It's a simple concept, really, but one with the power to secure our most critical infrastructure. The only question left is, are we taking that first step seriously enough?